Ah, there we go. Having some Mercury is still in retrograde. Still having some issues there. Now it's working, I believe. Hello, hello. How's it going? How is everyone today? Ooh, I gotta light my Palo Santo, my sage. Forgot to put on my bling today as well. There we go. There's the lighter. Hi, Charisse. How are you, darling? Thank you so much for your help lately, Charisse. I really appreciate you. Hi, Pauline. Bradley's here. Hello, Bradley. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Lori. Hi, Connie. Hello, hello. Hi, Katya. Hi, Marissa. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Amma. Hi, Chandrika. Hello, hello, everybody. Hi, Anna. Happy Monday to you all. Lighting the sage today. And then I'll get some Palo Santo going. Did you guys have a great weekend? What did you guys get up to? You guys are all very. How was the award ceremony Friday? It was amazing. So proud of my little guy. And I got to listen to the middle school jazz band. It was quite nice. So thank you for asking. Aiden's award is on the fridge right now. He's very proud of himself. I know the weather was amazing, wasn't it? At least for many of us here in the Northeast corridor, it was fantastic. I saw some weird stuff going on. What's up with all the ice storms down south, though? I did notice some of that was going on. Saw a crazy video today of like twigs, like trees, like snapping in half, like sticks, basically. It must have been some crazy ice down south over the weekend. But up here, it's been nice and warm here in Pennsylvania. So we're enjoying that quite a bit. I got some gardening going. Trying to make myself an entity fortress, basically. I'm putting all kinds of protective plants around my house. Tons of roses and rosemary and lavender and all kinds of. They're going to think I'm a witch. Just looking at my house. They're going to be like, but that's fine. We had tornadoes last night, Robin. No way. Crazy. Triada, where are you from? Lots of ice here. And I did see the earthquakes. Yes, I'm glad to see you're okay, Grant. I did see the earthquakes, and I thought of you, and I was concerned a little bit to see how you were doing. We're gonna have some lost soul rescues, I'm sure, in that area at some point. If somebody is able to help me find some of the areas that were hit hardest by the earthquake, I'm happy to have a look when we do the next lost soul rescue. Oh, you're in Minnesota. Interesting. I know you guys usually have a late spring, but this is a little crazy, huh? To have that big of an ice storm this late in the season. Finally got to spend some time with my son and family when he wasn't feeling so bad. 8 more radiation treatments, then chemo still through July. Oh, Stephanie, I'm sending you so much love and hugs. It's got to be one of the most difficult things to watch a family member go through that. So I'm sending you lots of love. And so yeah, anybody else? Oh yes, I did want to talk a little bit about the lost soul rescue we did on Friday. Because we had a very productive lost soul rescue, but towards the end I had to cut the end off of the lost soul rescue due to the fact that we ended up getting a surprise a little bit, because there is a location, which I'm not going to say where, it's in Mexico, where apparently was supposed to be some kind of a cartel dumping ground for bodies. And we were a bit like about checking this out. But quite a few people kept tagging me in this location. Whenever there's like a news article popping up about it, I would get tagged on this, and everybody's like, "Come on, Laura, check it out. Go check it out." So I was like, "All right." And on Friday, we had one of the biggest teams yet in Spirit. I mean, our team was enormous. We had all kinds of spirit guides from all kinds of different backgrounds. We had a very large group of Pleiadians with us, and the Irma, and a whole lot of others. So we thought, all right, we got this. Let's check out this location. And I'm going to start calling it the food pantry, because that's really the only place that's what it is. It is. It was the food pantry for an ET base that was actually underground in that area. And we don't seem to think about how large some of these ET bases are and how much, I mean, we deal with the astral components of these things. These beings that live underground are able to mess with us spiritually because they astral project. They have very powerful mental abilities. And so they, as much as we are able to astral project and go and visit people and do things in the spirit world, they can also do that. And unfortunately, they tend to mess with people above ground here, people who are just going about their day. We don't tend to think about the physical counterparts of these entities, because for every reptile that's up here using soul projection to mess with people, there is a physical counterpart that exists somewhere underground in some kind of a tunnel system or some kind of an underground dumb, as we call them, deep underground military bases. And so every once in a while, we are reminded when people go into these areas, a lot of them are underneath national parks and things, that, when you disappear, a lot of people, thousands of people every year disappear from national parks without a trace, not knowing that there are hidey holes and all kinds of it's like Swiss cheese. It's a tunnel system. And we are starting to discover why so many people disappear in those underground bases. Well, we checked out this location thinking that it was going to be just a couple earthbounds lingering around, and we did expect those earthbounds to be quite distraught, but we did not expect to find what we found, which was thousands of people underground who didn't make it out of the tunnels, we'll put it that way. And so it was quite shocking and a little bit intimidating because of the sheer number of them there. And so, when this planet starts getting cleared out of all of these beings that exist here, there's going to be a lot going on underground that we're going to have to deal with. In fact, one of my favorite channels, I'm going to show you guys this channel. If you ever love binge watching things on YouTube, one of my absolute favorite channels is called Mr. Mythos. I'm going to show you what his channel looks like so you can find it. Mr. Mythos. This is what it looks like. Mr. Mythos right there. And he has a new episode. There you go, Bradley. You got something to watch on your drive today. He's got a new episode of Inner Earth Conspiracy Theories, number 9. And it talks about national parks and all the strange and interesting things that happen in these national parks. So I think that you guys, if you're interested, is it fully cleared? No. Hell no, Jessica. Hell no, it's not fully cleared. Nope. As soon as we tuned in, we're like, all right, let's get out of here. We did try and cross over a couple earthbounds, but it was far too dangerous. There were level 3s and level 4s there in great number. And for those of you who are wondering what a level 4 is, I don't really want to go into that right now because trying not to lower the vibe of the discussion today. But we'll just say that it's really crazy how much there's things going on underneath entire cities that we are not aware of. And so, no, we did not fully clear it out. In fact, we crossed over a couple earthbounds and left. That was the best we could do. There were thousands of people underground. I don't know how they got there. I have a feeling the Cabal is responsible, but I'm wondering why the Galactic Federation is doing absolutely nothing about this. And I actually meditated on it a little bit over the weekend. I was trying to understand, like, what is the logic in letting all of this occur? And then I had a thought of, well, we allow factory farms to occur. We allow animals to be treated the same way that those people were treated. So it's almost like, I don't want to say it's hypocritical, but it's almost like until we start treating animals better, why the hell should the ETs treat us any better? That was the answer that I came up with in my own head. I'm sure the Galactic Federation is aware of these bunkers. I'm sure they're aware that many people disappear into them. And I did ask the soul guy, I said, did the people that are down there, did they have a soul contract to get eaten like that? And they're like, no, they did not. So yeah, it is something that I'm not trying to disturb people with, but it's also one of those things where if I find something like this, I have to say something. I have no idea if it's going to help anything. I have no idea if anybody up there even gives a shit, our zookeepers that are kind of keeping an eye on these things. But it is really scary to know that places like this exist. It was basically like Skinwalker, but not famous. It was a non-famous version of Skinwalker is what we tuned into. So I am going to be pre-screening all of my locations just for future reference, because obviously there's a lot of people who are following my footsteps in this work, especially because I will be teaching a class in May about spirit release therapy and all these things. I will also be incorporating Lost Soul Rescue. So for those of you who are interested in doing just the Lost Soul Rescue and trying to avoid the other darker stuff, that's wonderful. But it did obviously, these kind of experiences, we learn new ways to kind of guard ourselves and to be prepared for situations like this. Michelle says, I think there's a bunch of Skinwalker type ranches. Oh, I have no doubt, especially after seeing this. It's barely even mentioned in the news. People made it sound like, oh, it's just one of those weird little creepy places where a couple people disappeared. No. That is not at all what it is. It was literally a food pantry for an entire base underground. Thousands of people disappeared into there. So no, it is, these places that exist all over, unless the Federation gets involved, because I've heard so many times where they've said, even the Taygеттans have said, oh, we cleaned out the bases. We cleaned out this. We cleared out a bunch of dumps. We rescued a whole bunch of people from the dumps. Apparently there's a lot that they've missed as well. So anyway, it's very important to just be aware of our situation here on Earth, regardless of how much the light and fluffy stuff gets pushed forward. There's so many things that people discuss about ETs and all of these other beings that we share this planet with, and yet this is what we find. So yeah, I'm not going to dwell on it today, but it was worth mentioning. And it is a good thing to know about, like I said, to be extra careful in the future. But yes, I'm very glad that we had the team that we had with us that day. None of the mediums, in fact, I checked everybody within a couple hours after us going in, and everybody was still sovereign. Everybody was fine. So luckily we were very well shielded, but it could have ended up ugly if we weren't. So this is why it's very important for those of you who will be kind of following in my footsteps in this work that we don't go doing dumb shit to get ourselves put in the line of fire, so to speak. So it's been very interesting with these Lost Soul rescues, though, because so many different places ended up needing to be cleared. We did clear one place in Bergen, and I believe I'm saying that correctly, in Norway, and there were still hundreds of witches still there. And these witches were killed in the 15th, 16th century. So you would think that they had crossed over. It's been like 500 years for some of them. No, they were still there. Many of them were still there. And I asked, why are they still there? Why hadn't they crossed over yet? Considering, these witches were killed hundreds of years ago. And they said, well, they're just angry. They don't want to cross. They're pissed, basically. And so these locations where tourists especially go to, you end up going home with a souvenir that you didn't even realize you were where you were around. So anyway, this is why it's so important to be doing this work, and I am very much interested in getting more people involved in doing this work, because I couldn't possibly clear this whole planet by myself. So for those of you who are interested in spirit release, we will be teaching a class on this in May. And I will also be teaching mediums and facilitators, but that will be done separately. This first class is going to be basically about all the things that we clear from people, all of the contracts and all the entities and all of the interesting things that we find in multi-dimensional spaces, because a lot of the healing that is required for people that are going through really traumatic stuff is multi-dimensional. Like we don't realize that there's a reason we were so badly affected by a certain event in our lives, usually because that event occurred in other lifetimes as well, and it's like a re-triggering of trauma. So to learn more about these things and to be able to help people is one of the best opportunities I've ever been given. So anyway, I do see, I have somebody in the comments. Hi, Shane. I see your comments. Making plenty of money off of the suffering, aren't you? It's funny how so many people seem to think it should be, free to do this work. I work literally sometimes 18 hours a day, and more than half of the clearings I do are actually pro bono. In fact, all of my lost soul rescues that I do publicly, that I share with you guys, nobody's paying for that. Those are all done for free. So, there's always going to be a troll in the comments saying something rude to try and get attention, because that's what they're really after. But the people that are actually in this work, that are a part of this work, they're seeing the good that we're doing. And so this is why we don't let people, the naysayers, there are always going to be more of them. There's always going to be more people that are, clueless to these things, that are very closed off to these things. And that's completely understandable. Exactly. We just ignore them. In fact, I actually have something really cool to share with you guys. Where is it? I got a new book the other day. I got it from Thrift Books, because Thrift Books is amazing. I love it. And the book on fairies. And I got this one for Aiden and I. It's really cool because it says good fairies, and then you flip it over and you get the bad fairies. So you get the good and the bad with these things, as always. And I love how this book is basically like upside down. Like you have to like, it starts out like this, and the illustrations in this book are my favorite part about it. Look at it. And I'm always asking the soul guides, like, to describe some of the fae that we see. And they're like, well, some of them are more conventional looking, whereas others are very strange looking. But this book is very interesting, and that's why I wanted to show you guys. So that way, if you've never seen this book before, it's by Brian Froud. Phenomenal book. So it teaches you a little bit about the different types of fairies that they have. And like I said, the illustrations are amazing. Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? So you see all kinds of different level 1s. So as I said, I am basically doing a lot of study. I'm cramming I bought like literally 25 different books to compile as much information about these different beings as possible for the class. So there's going to be a lot of information that you guys have probably never heard of before, and some of it you might have already heard of. But like I said, I'm studying all of these different types of beings that we remove, because level 1s, for example, we call them level 1s. Those are the naughty elemental types that we remove from people. They tend to be a bit more sneaky and cheeky than some of the level 2s. Like the level 2s, the demonic types are really just there to harass people and to, make your life miserable. But the level 1s, they're purely opportunistic, and many of them are indeed, they're just fae. They're just trying to kind of enjoy themselves. Who is the author again? Brian Froud. What is his name? Brian Froud. The book is phenomenal. I'm telling you, look at it. I love the picture they have for the naughty fairies, for the bad fairies. And then you have the good fairies on the other side. So if you guys are interested in a really good book about fairies for the kids, this is a really good one so far. I'm loving it. So Aiden and I have been getting involved with the fairy stuff, because Aiden, I swear, he can see fairies. He sees things that I cannot see, which, I mean, a lot of children can do that anyway. But whenever I see it, I see things that look like... A friend of mine even got a video of a fairy in her house a few weeks ago. So they're out there. They're almost all over the place. You'd be surprised how common fairies are. If anyone has ever heard of angel fairies, I'm wondering if anyone's ever heard of them. There are thousands of different types, thousands and thousands of different types. So you never know what kind of fairy you're dealing with. In fact, fairies get a lot of bad rap too because of other entities. There was a lot of like demonic entities, they like to shapeshift into different things. And so people know that fairies can do that as well. So the fairies get the blame when usually there's some really dark stuff going on. And in fact, it's Dolores that talked about that quite a bit. If you looked at Dolores's book, she's got quite a bit of mention of fairies in there. Dolores mentions fairies a lot in her books. And yes, I agree. He's clearly a phenomenal artist. And the illustrations in the book are amazing. Aaron says, I can talk to the fairies. I love that. Well, we noticed, Aaron, when you were in France and you're like, oh, there's a fairy there. There's a gnome there. There's all kinds of little creatures that exist that don't even look like fairies, like little gnomes and brownies and other beings that exist everywhere. My cat chases them all day, Amma says. That's really funny because they mess with pets a lot. If you ever see your cat chasing something you can't see, it's probably a fae of some kind. There's a lot of different ones too. You get like there was I asked the guides, I was like, can we do the healing work now? And they're like, no, because there's too many mischievous elementals in the room. And I was like, what does that even mean? And they're like, well, there's just naughty fairies. So they had to clear out the naughty fairies before they could do the work. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because they get in the way. It's like having a naughty child when you're trying to do something and the child comes and like throws everything around and gets them in a big mess and you're like, don't touch this. And they just are very curious and they're harmless in most cases. We do find them occasionally embedded in chakras, which was interesting. We find them in people's throat chakras, their solar plexus. So they can even embed themselves in your chakras, which is interesting. So we do have to make sure that we check your chakras really well because you have a lot of energy coming through those. And usually when we find a blockage in your chakra, we're like, why is the throat not moving like it's supposed to? And then we look into the throat and there's some kind of an obstruction. And we're like, what's the obstruction? And then we find it's literally a fae of some kind that is obstructing their chakra. So you get all kinds of, like I said, it's harmless behavior, but you don't really want somebody stealing your stuff or breaking your things. If you get a lot of stuff breaking in your house and you're like, what is going on? Why do I keep having to fix this stuff? Well, there might be a reason. You pissed off somebody. In fact, there was a really funny case. We were doing clearings with Katie over the weekend, just doing some practice sessions. And there was a house that we cleared and there were naughty fae in the house. And we were like, what's going on here? And apparently they had pissed off the fae by destroying one of their houses. So the remedy for this was they had to make them a fairy house. Like, well, you destroyed their house and now they're pissed and now they're coming into your house to break all your shit. So what else are you going to do? You have to make them a new house and then they apologize for wrecking their shit and then they will stop breaking your stuff in retaliation. So that was really funny, actually, as part of the aftercare. Like, you never know what kind of homework your spirit guides are going to give you. Well, one of these people over the weekend, that was their homework, to go and make a fairy house to say sorry. It's like, well, if you want your shit to stop disappearing and you want your stuff to stop breaking, you better go and make amends to those fae. And there's a lot of countries that used to know this. Like the Irish, they take this to the next level. And it's funny because whenever we do clearings on somebody had a session in Ireland the other day, and we checked, and there were fae everywhere. And we're like, what is going on? And apparently there was also a really interesting curse on the house that was a fae curse from 600, 700 years ago. And we're like, where is this even coming from? Why would the fae curse a house? And they're like, because they did something horrible to the fae. If you do, it's very tit for tat. And I was like, very interesting. Yes, there's also goblins and all those other things. Everything you've ever heard of is real somewhere. Because ironically, even if it wasn't real originally and you got creative and decided to make it up in your head, guess what? You just created something in the astral. Although it does make you wonder if this is why we don't see certain things as much as we used to, because the belief in those things isn't as strong as it once was. Like banshees, for example. You don't often hear about banshees anymore, right? Those screaming spirits that used to roam around Ireland terrorizing people. You don't hear about banshees as much anymore. Why? Well, maybe because people just don't believe in them as much. But that doesn't mean they don't exist and that they're not really a thing. It just means that if the more we believe in these things, the more we manifest them and create them in the astral. Another reason why they keep us humans in quarantine, because we just manifest the strangest of things. We really do. It's quite funny, actually, the things we manifest. Because sometimes I'll be talking with Zach, like Adriana's guide, and I'll be like, what do you see? And he'll be like, why is this even a thing? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, this is a very bizarre creature. And I'm like, what is it? And he goes, I don't know, some kind of manifestation of the human subconscious. I don't even know how to put it into words. So apparently we know how to manifest things in the astral that are so far beyond comprehension that even some of these Pleiadian soul guides are like, what the fuck? When they look at it, they're like, what the? Like, you humans, you manifest the weirdest things on this planet. We're very creative. What can I say? You look at some of the art that children design, some of, like sometimes there's like this one company that will take your child's art and then turn it into a stuffy. Like Aiden loved that idea. He thought it was the coolest, brilliantest idea ever. But that's kind of like how humans are, though. Like we see something in our mind, we create it in our mind, and then somewhere in the astral that being exists. So it's kind of just like that. Somebody goes and takes and makes your design real. How common are curses or level 1 or 2 beings? So curses are extremely common because people don't really understand how curses work. In fact, you know who the most common people are that curse you is your own family. Because the reason why is that we have a lot of drama that occurs. And whenever you talk shit about somebody, you are literally sending out curses to people. A lot of people think, oh, curses is like you have to sit over a cauldron with some eye of newt, and be like, blah, 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 and talk shit into the cauldron. No, it doesn't work that way. You literally just have to say, F that guy, and I hope he blah, blah, blah. That is a curse. If you're just walking down the road and you see somebody and you're like, you know what, F that guy, I hope he falls and trips on his own feet. That is a curse that you just sent out to somebody. And you have to be very aware that the intention that you send out into the world will actually come back to you if you are not aware of these things. So yeah, you have to be very careful. Spells are the same thing. Spells and curses. That's why if you notice on the report, they're kind of in the same section. Spells and curses are the same way. Yes, there are spells that are actual black magic spells. I have seen a lot of that too. In fact, I've found the weirdest things from people due to black magic. I found toads in people's throats. I found voodoo dolls with shit, like pins in them. You don't even want to know the weird shit that I found is per black magic, because there's a lot of people that end up pissing off brujas and stuff. Those are real things that real magic is legit, you guys. It happens where people will actually be cursed by an authentic spell. But then there's other curses and spells that are literally just set by intention. Literally just by the things that you say can create spells and curses. So this is why if you went for, let's say you had a rough week and everybody was pissing you off and you set out some bad intentions and you noticed that you were saying some negative things about people. So what do? You can call back your energy to you. You say, I rescind anything negative, all of my negative intention that I sent out into the world. I call back to myself and I heal this with peace and love. You can also send it to Gaia. You can say, hey, Gaia, can you please just take all of that negative energy that I was sending out? And can you please transmute that energy into love and understanding? And by sending that intention out into the universe, you are actually changing the vibration of what you've already sent out there. I hope that helps. So yeah. Boop. I think I need to do some troll bashing today. Bye, Brad. There's a couple people that are just, like I said, I've gained a few thousand new followers this week. So in fact, I have 144 people watching the podcast right now. That's really cool. Very interesting. 144, the angel number of the star seeds. Good to know. So, any other questions? Anything you guys want to discuss today? Daphne says, I might have cursed my children. Honey, I wouldn't worry about that. Like I said, it's very easy to call back any negative intentions you sent out, because we all do it. We all have done it. Without knowing, we've done it. Every single one of us have sent out curses and spells against people without even being aware that it does it. So, it's one of those things that once you become aware of that behavior, you can correct it and you become more aware of your intention. But this is something that we commonly see, especially when there's like a family drama going on and there's like a whole lot of stuff that's been happening. Yeah, we do tend to find a lot of curses among family that are squabbling. And like I said, that's because family are sending it against family. And you'd be surprised how many times the soul guides are like, man, if only they knew. If only they knew. Because they love each other. They do. They truly love each other. But they have no idea that the things they say and do to each other ends up being so detrimental. So, yeah, it's very unfortunate that so many of us are kind of unaware of all of that. But this is why it is so good to learn all of these things. There was a question I just saw pop up. Where is it? Have you talked about your Reiki class? I have, but I'm happy to talk about it again if there's any questions, Olivia. If you guys are interested in my Reiki course, I do have the Reiki course here ready to go. On, was it 2 Sundays from now, April 13th, we will be doing a Reiki course. So there's the link if you guys are interested. You can also find it on my Astral Lara website. If you go down there, you'll notice this is classes and it's up there. Is it equally effective to help stuck spirits when you're remote viewing? That's how we do this work. We do all of our spirit release work and we do our lost soul rescue work with remote viewing. So for those of you who don't know what remote viewing is, it's basically astral projection through meditation rather than sleep. So you can actually meditate yourself into the ability to send your perception elsewhere. Your astral body can disconnect in a way and go and travel and do stuff and see things. Will the course offer us level 1 certification? Yes, you will get a certification. Yep. And there will be a separate ceremony for your attunement and certification, which we will be having at different times, because I know there's going to be some people that are interested in it that are in Australian time zones. There's a couple of people from Indonesia and other places and the Philippines. So we will be having different times to make sure that you guys will be able to attend the attunement ceremony live. And you'll be attuned by myself, my friend Tina, and our soul guides. Our soul guides will come in and open up your chakras wider for you and help your energy to flow more. So it does help. These attunements are wonderful. What's your cutoff for students? I don't know yet. I think 100. Because we don't want to get too overwhelmed. So we've got, I think, 25 already signed up, which is phenomenal. So thank you guys very much for joining us. And so we're only about a quarter of the capacity with 2 more weeks left to go. So if there's any questions about that, feel free to let me know. Are there any financial assistance offered for the Reiki course? Yes, Erin, I remember you asking that. So if you message me privately, we can work something out possibly. Let's see. Were there any other questions? Can we put bubbles of protection around our loved ones? Yes, absolutely. That's a phenomenal question. Yeah, you can even put them around your pets. In fact, you know what's cute is that Andy told a story once about how his little dog was getting bullied at the park. So he put a bubble around his dog and he put an invisibility cloak, like a little mini doggy invisibility cloak. And none of the dogs came up to his dog. They all left him alone. So he was kind of like, it works actually. So you can absolutely shield your children. You can shield your pets. You can shield your hubby who doesn't want to believe in any of this and thinks you're completely crazy. You can shield him too. So it does help when it's somebody that is also setting the intention for themselves. So if you're doing it together, like if you're teaching your kids and say, all right, kids, everybody visualize a gold bubble around yourselves. And they're like, okay, you can also teach them to do it too, because their power of, intention is very strong as well. When does the Reiki course close? As in, how long do we have to join? Right up until the day, as long as it's not fall. I'm feeling it probably won't be filled. Usually, I got last time for my astral projection class, I had 90 people for my astral projection class. And since we're charging more for this, considering it's a lot more intensive and you get the certification and there's going to be multiple days for the ceremonies and things, I don't imagine that we'll hit the limit. So we should be fine. Are there more powerful spirits that require physical presence to help? That's a great question, Phil. So, any video gamers out here? I'm a big gamer, right? One of my favorite games growing up was RPGs, where you're basically out in the world kind of fighting beasties, right? Like The Witcher, for example. It's a great example for a video game. So, The Witcher is one of those open world games where you can travel around, right? And you build up your levels slowly. Okay. And as you're doing your work, you're getting higher and higher in level. And then you start getting better equipment, you get better spells, you get better armor, and all of these things, right? Well, real life, ironically, considering we're especially in a holographic reality, is very similar to those video games, which is kind of funny because if you following certain paths, right? You following certain paths, you will end up evolving on a natural basis, right? Like you go through the level 5 area, you do everything in the level 5 area, and then the game moves you to a higher level area. So that way you don't end up in an area where there's like a level 100 boss when you're level 15, right? Well, it's very similar to that here on Earth, where you can accidentally end up in an area where there is something that far outmatches your abilities. We'll put it that way. So, this is kind of what I'm trying to navigate and why I was so concerned about how we tuned into that ET base the other day, because that was like us being level 20 tuning into a level 80 dungeon. Okay. So in the same light as somebody who plays Dungeons and Dragons, and you find yourself in a dungeon where you are vastly outnumbered and outmatched, what do? Retreat, and you run away. And that is exactly what we did, because there are certain levels where you're just not, I mean, you're literally just going to be like, and they're done. Like you can go in there with all of your best shit and it's not going to do anything. They're literally just going to be like that to you, because they're so far outranking you. So we have to kind of navigate the zones, if you know what I mean, to know when we're not getting ourselves in hot water, so to speak. So this is another reason why I said I will be keeping much closer eye before I tune in to the area with with a whole bunch of other bigger beasties around. So I hope that makes sense. So this is kind of what I'm trying to do. I am trying to keep it within my level. And maybe someday I will be level 80 and I can go into an area full with archons and I'd be like, oh, you know, but I am not there yet. I have only been doing this work for about 18 months now. So I'm still kind of level 20. We'll put it that way, level 20, give or take. So I am not going looking for level 50 beasties, if you know what I mean. So I'm trying to stick with certain areas. Don't go chasing waterfalls, okay? Just stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to, if that makes sense. So yes, this is me trying to be smart about these things so I can, you know, live a long life and not have something take me out like Final Destination style, because I really am not trying to manifest that. Yeah, see, I'm glad that the gamers understand now. See, thank you. I'm glad you like that analogy. Yeah. So yeah, you never know what interesting things you're going to tune into, especially when you find yourself with some ET bunker that's just chilling in the middle of Mexico somewhere. Because there's all kinds of freaky shit on this planet. Luke just said you just need extra mana potions. Yeah, exactly. Woo! But that's the thing on this planet. Like, you get the duality aspect, right? So as you go up in vibration, you find higher beings like the Arcturians, you find higher beings like the angelics, and you just keep moving up and up and up and up and up in vibration. But you aren't aware that there are things that are doing the opposite, you know, that instead of going up and up and up in vibration and attaining power, you ever watch oh my God, right? I just got chills when I thought of it. Anybody play Fable? Fable is the perfect example of this, right? So Fable, for those of you who did not know, Fable was this RPG game from ages ago. In fact, they're making a new one, and I'm so stoked about it. You guys will not even hear from me next year, I swear. So the Fable is one of those games where you start out kind of neutral, where you're just like, you're doing stuff. You're going around the world deciding in what way you want to help people, right? And if you do everything the nice way, right, you end up with like the halo, you got the butterflies flying around over you, everybody comes up to you and they're like, oh my god, I love you so much. And all the people, you're like, max good, right? And all the people are like, oh my god, you're the best, I love you, that's when you're kind of like moving your way up in the angelic realms, right? You're getting yourself all of this good juju that's working your way up, like I said. But then you could be 100% good, walking around town and you're bored and you're like, I feel like slaughtering the townsfolk today. Because why not, right? So some people will do that. Well, they'll be like, I'm bored of being the good guy. So they end up going through and just changing everything where they're like, all right, I'm just going to kill everybody in town. And then you end up being the bad character and all those butterflies will turn into flies. And that angelic halo over your head will turn into devil horns. And you're just kind of traveling around and people see you in the game. And they're like, oh shit, run away, because you have this aura of evil around you. In fact, you can even see in the game, like there's like black smoke that falls around you and stuff like that. That was very much like it is in real life too, because all of these beings that you're tuning into that are moving up higher in vibration, yeah, those are kind of like the angelics. And as high up in vibration as the angelics are, you also have the exact opposite happening with other beings, such as archons and demonics and other things that exist here on this planet. So there are areas that are so dark that as soon as you walk in there, you're just like, whoa, your whole body, your hair stands up in the back of your neck, you get chills all over, and you feel sick to your stomach, and you're just like, ugh, like I need to get out of here. Places like that exist all over the planet because there are beings that exist in those spaces that are lowering the vibration. So I hope that explains kind of what we're dealing with down here, because we get, we talk about fallen angels too. Fallen angels are really a thing. It's basically like the guy that had the max good and then decided, you know what, I'm going to be max bad now. And then instead of helping people, decided to go slaughtering all the townsfolk and stuff. The same thing happens with fallen angels. So as high and powerful as their vibration is, you get all kinds of beings that are just as powerful, but in the lower sense. So we're constantly kind of working out the duality. And that is the point of this 5D shift that is occurring on this planet, because we are trying to raise the vibration of the planet and make it less hospitable for the beings that are down there, so to speak, in vibration. So the more we raise the vibration of the planet, the more these higher beings from wherever. I mean, angels are not terrestrial, for the record. For those of you who think that angels are from here on Earth, no, most of them are not. Most of them are galactic beings that have evolved to the point where they no longer need physical bodies. So angelic beings are 100% real. They exist. I literally talk to them all the time while I'm doing clearings. In fact, some of them are very stubborn and difficult to work with sometimes. They're just kind of like, I do things my way, which is fine, but a lot of the angels, they want you to figure things out for yourself. And so it's kind of, sometimes you get more help from the darker ones than you do the light ones. And it's kind of funny how that works, because you just never know where somebody or something is going to be aligned. And so this is why, it's time. I'm just following the middle road, so to speak. I'm chaotic neutral. I'm trying to stay, I'm not chaotic good. I'm not chaotic evil. I'm in the neutral, because really I'm flexible. I'm how things have to be, because this planet is complicated. Chantal says, anyone joining the chat is now hella confused. Yes, I know. Lara's going off on another tangent. But you guys are asking good questions today. Can they hop into a vessel like Supernatural? Yep. 100%. Yes, they can. Supernatural, I swear to God, that show should be like a documentary. The amount of truth in that show is unbelievable. In fact, some of the things that I learned, because I watched Supernatural ages ago, like when it came out. So this was way beyond, like before my spiritual awakening. And now that I rewatch certain episodes, I'm like, holy shit. Like there's so much truth in that show. It's unbelievable. That's so funny, though, because you never know what you're going to bump into on this planet. And that's one of the things in Supernatural that they love to talk about. Especially all of that scene with the deities. That's one of my favorite scenes. I play it in my head all the time. That one episode where Yahweh, I think it was, decided that they were just gonna bring about the book of Revelation and destroy the planet or whatever it was. And all of these different deities from all over the world, even like Shiva and all these others showed up, and they were like pissed off because it's funny, all of the religions are real. All of them. If even one human believes in a certain God, you manifest it in the astral. So all of these, yes, in the hotel, yes, I remember, yes, and they all were pissed, right? Because they're like, "Oh, all the other deities are looking at Yahweh like, fuck you, like, no, why makes you get destroy the world? What about the rest of us?" So funny because that's true. Like all of those deities are real, all of them. Lord Shiva is the man. I love Lord Shiva. In fact, I got a statue of him right here because all of the deities that come in, Lord Shiva has popped in a few times during clearings. So I don't like to name drop, especially very powerful deity like beings, but Lord Shiva is awesome, just for the record. He is the man. He really is. So there's a very few beings that I would call in if I was under psychic attack, and Lord Shiva is definitely one of them. Because if Lord Shiva comes in, the entities run. They get scared. You call in Lord Shiva and be like, Lord Shiva, reptiles are messing with me. He comes in. He really does. It was funny. There was this one time I was being harassed by a Lizzie, and it was not leaving my house. It refused to leave my house. It was quite spooky, actually. I could feel its vibration. It felt like my heart was doing this. And I thought I was dealing with a psychic attack. So I called one of my mediums, and they were like, the soul guide that came through was like, no, you're going to have to find an ascended master that can intervene on your behalf. That's what he said. And I was like, well, I only know one ascended master, and that is our beloved Baba G. So I called Angelica and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can feel it in my house. It's here. And she's like, hang on a second. And the next thing you know, I hear, there you are. And I was like, oh, hello. And he goes, I'm calling for help for you. And I was like, who are you calling? And he goes, I'm calling Lord Shiva for you. And I was like, really? And as he said that, I literally felt like this breeze that came through my house. And it was hard to explain, right? Because none of my doors and windows were open. So I felt this cold breeze come through my house. And I was like, this is really odd. So I go and I open the front door because Siddhartha's like, yes, go open the front door. So I did. And as I'm going around my house with the sage, I literally hear boom, like my door just slammed itself really, really hard. And then I hear Siddhartha on the phone and he goes, that was Lord Shiva. It is gone now. I was like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, Lord Shiva was in your house. He chased it away. And you should, my whole house shook when the door slammed. Like literally just, I mean, it was the hardest door slam I think I've heard in a very long time. And that's when he was like, oh, it's gone. So you'd be surprised how much these deities will actually come in and back you up, but you're not going to get the backup unless you ask. So, but that was why I was like, damn, Lord Shiva was just in my house. Like, whoa, I could feel his energy. And it's so intense. So, like I said, as much as we have beings that are very dark and powerful on this planet, we have some beings that are extremely bright and powerful and are capable of chasing all of those scary things away. And so it is very nice to know that we have that backup and we just have to ask for it. Have you ever talked about Egyptian gods? Yes, all the time. All the time. Especially now a lot of people are interested, yes, because of the new discovery under the Giza pyramid. It's not new. We've known it was there for forever. In fact, it's kind of funny how much like things that are like, oh yeah, this breaking news. There's tunnels under the Sphinx. We're like, do you want to know what's in the tunnels? Because we can tell you. There's remnants of the Atlantean library and an access to the Akashic records underneath the Sphinx. And then we're like, huh? We know exactly what's down there. We already know. In fact, we've known for probably thousands of years, considering you guys have no idea how many past life resonances we find for people in Egypt. Almost every time I do clearings on people, I'm like, do they have a past life resonance? And they're like, if it's a starseed, right? If it's a starseed, there are so many of you that have been here since Egypt. And many of you that were actually working with these gods back in the day, they're not gods, they're they're aliens. 100% they were aliens. All of them were, every single one. In fact, some of them, you'd think like the goddess Isis, for example, with the wings and everything. Everybody thinks that she was a goddess because she had the wings. She was extremely advanced, but lots of people in Egypt and Atlantis had wings. You could buy wings in Atlantis. In fact, you'd be surprised how many people I find that I'm like, do they have any past life resonances to clear? They're like, yeah, there's some damage to their wing area. I'm like, what? Their wing area? Yeah, the top of the shoulder blades right up here. That's your wing area. And you'd be surprised how many of you have shoulder pain there because you end up having, remnants of this pain from when your wings were injured back in a past life, back in Egypt or Atlantis. Yep, there were so many very powerful beings that existed back then, and they still exist now. It's just that they're kind of kept quiet and away from us humans now. We used to be involved with them in a very intimate basis, if you know what I mean, especially with the Greeks. Those Greek gods, they loved their humans. So, yeah, all of these very powerful beings. Weren't the wings an indication she was on a flying ship? No, she actually had wings. You'd be surprised how many people have wings back then. In fact, there's a couple men I've found, right? I did, there was a while back that I was doing a bunch of clearings on military men, and you'd be surprised how many military men I found with that. And I was like, why? Why would you'd think it'd be all like the pretty girls that wanted the wings? No, it was the men. A lot of men had wings back then. And I was like, why? And they said they were air guards. And I'm like, air guard. And you know what popped into my head? That movie. My God, what is it called? Jupiter Ascending. You guys have seen Jupiter Ascending. The wings that he has in Jupiter Ascending, the main character guy, that is exactly what the air guards were like in Atlantis. In fact, when I watched Jupiter Ascending, it made me so emotional because I remembered flashbacks from all kinds of different things in Atlantean times. You'd be surprised how much these things can kind of trigger your own memories, which is probably why a lot of us end up liking those movies in the first place. So my past life is Zoran, where I was that Pleiadian badass, the one that hunted reptiles. There's so many flashbacks I've been getting from that, especially thanks to Adriana, because I'll be doing clearings. We were doing clearings with Adriana the other day, and we were talking about what was it? Oh, I had an instrument. That's what it was. So in my past life as Zoran, when I was traveling around planet to planet looking for survivors, we ended up having like to be sneaky about it. And apparently I had like a human dog whistle. We don't even call it human because we weren't humans back then. It was a little instrument that I wore around my neck. And when I blew into it, it was like a horn. And then the horn would apparently call people out of hiding. And the people come out of hiding because apparently the reptiles couldn't hear the horn. It was too high frequency. So the humans would hear this horn playing and they're like, what is that? And they'd come out of hiding and then they'd find me and my ship going, hey, you need anything? You need a lift? Want to get out of here? So, and Bradley was also with me. And Bradley was kind of pissed. He was like, did I get to blow the horn? We're like, no. That was Lara's horn. She blew the horn. And to this day, I love trumpets. In fact, that's how all of this came apart. It was because I was telling Zach how much I loved listening to the trumpets in the jazz band the other day. And he's like, oh, I'm not surprised. You love trumpets. That's like what you used to carry on you. You had like a little, where you would call people out of hiding. Bradley says, and it's confirmed she would never let me blow her horn. She hogged all the fun. Yes, that's what Zach said. That's what Zach said. Said, nope, Bradley, you didn't get to. She hogged all the fun. What are your thoughts on Thoth? I had a friend who went into a past life regression in Egypt, and I asked her, I said, what was it like to be a human in Egypt? And she was like, well, not the greatest. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I was like, did you see other like ETs around? And they're like, oh yeah, there are ETs everywhere in Egypt. And I'm like, and what did they think of humans? And they're like, they looked at us like we were insects, like we were pets, like the cats had a higher standing than the humans did, which was kind of ironic. So whenever I think about these Egyptian deities, especially back in the day, I'm like, I love Isis. Don't get me wrong. I really do love Isis. In fact, I have an Egyptian deity right there on my altar right there. So I do very much appreciate much of what they brought to this planet. But at the same time, the way they look down on humans just never really sat well with me. Did you get those earrings from our old French man in Amboise? Not these ones. These are meteorites that I'm wearing today. These are called the Muonian Alusta Impact earrings. I know you got a pair though, didn't you, Aaron? You could show them off on the next time I bring you on the podcast. Can you tell us about Archangel Michael? I really like him a lot. He comes into clearings quite a bit. In fact, whenever there's something we can't really deal with, because it's kind of funny, right? We'll call in the spirit guides and we'll be like, can you remove this? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, why not? And they're like, because it's outside of my ability to do it. And I'll be like, can you call in somebody else to do it? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. In fact, there was another time we called in somebody. We're like, can you bring in the Irma? And they're like, we can't help you. And we're like, all right, well, who can you bring in? And they're like, well, we'll try and bring in the angels. And we brought in the angels for a clearing. And then the angels were like, I'm sorry, we can't help you with this. This is out of our league. So I was like, who the hell do you call in? Do we call in Archangel Michael? Or even Archangel Michael, it was out of his league. And we're like, well, then who goes up higher than that? This man right here. Ra. We ended up calling in Ra because Ra was even higher up than that. So it's like you go up the totem pole as you need to. So you'd be surprised how many light beings they're all, it's like a hierarchy. There's always a hierarchy. And it's all about vibration. Aaron says, I have a bone to pick with Thoth. Yes, a few pairs. I am very careful about at least I try to be careful about who I name drop and who I mention. Because there are a lot of other beings, for example, that exist that are still alive to this day. They're still around. I have felt the energy of Ra before, and when he came in for that one particular clearing, and he blessed me as well. It was really lovely because he thanked me for bringing it to his attention. That one case that was so difficult that even the angels couldn't handle it, and they called in Ra, and I was like, holy shit. Who is it top though? Source probably. I think that's why Yeshua's vibration was so powerful as well, because Yeshua is almost like source level. It's almost like, when you connect to certain beings, that filter in between source gets thinner and thinner and thinner. So I think that is why certain beings, like honestly, between the two, it's kind of hard to say who had the more powerful vibration, because they both felt equally powerful, and that would be Yeshua and Ra. Those are the two most powerful beings I have ever felt. And like when I say my hair got goosebumps, like I'm not kidding. Like my goosebumps got goosebumps. Okay, like seriously, from head to toe, you will not believe the vibration that you can feel when they come in to tune into you. So we are very blessed to have these higher beings coming in to help us with clearings, because, like I said, sometimes it's so dark. You need one who is equally powerful, high. You know what I mean? It's like they cancel each other out. So as high up as one goes, it's like there's beasties that'll answer to that, and vice versa. So this is why it's very interesting, and all of the different beings that you come encounter with, because you just never know. Allison just said, I got goosebumps when you said that. See, this is why you got to be mindful of you name drop, because you call in their attention. You really do. You'd be surprised how much you call in their attention. And yes, I was going to switch to Astara in just a moment. Were there any other questions for today? For those of you who are unaware, because there's a lot of people watching the podcast today, we switch over at 11 o'clock on Mondays to Astara so we can have private Zoom chats. I'm going to share the link for that. So astaracommunity.com. There has been some changes that you guys will be noticing on Astara. We're going to be changing some stuff because we're bringing in new mentors, new teachers, new healers, and all kinds of exciting new things that are going to be coming through. So lots of wonderful opportunities. There was a question if Moldavite can get entities. Everything can get entities. Everything. Entities can connect to absolutely anything, whether it's person, place, or thing. If it's a noun, they can connect to it. Okay? If it's a person, a place, or a thing, entities can attach to it. This is why we're always telling people to smudge their stuff when they buy it secondhand. This is why we're always telling people to make sure that you buy things that are not made with slave labor. I have literally found cursed markers in somebody's house. And I'm like, cursed markers? They're like, yeah, there was cursed because the people that made it were slaves, basically. It was made by slave labor in China, and the people that made it ended up cursing it. And so your children were literally using markers that were cursed by children that were being treated as slaves. So even the things that you buy brand new, you'd be surprised the amount of shit that can get stuck to them. So yes, entities, they can connect to all kinds of things. This is why people, if they say something is cursed, believe it and smudge it and make sure that you get rid of it. Because there's a lot of things that can attach to stuff that you'd be surprised about. Literally just a mug. You leave this mug in a negative place for too long and have negative people using the mug all day long. What do you think is going to happen to the mug? The vibration of the mug is going to plummet, and it's going to pick up bad juju. And then every time you drink out of the mug, you're going to end up absorbing that bad juju. Randall is here. Randall, I need to get you on the podcast, my friend. I would love to have you join me for a chat sometime. In fact, you guys should have met Randall like ages ago. Randall is the reason why I'm even doing this work now. Thank you, Randall. I got to bring you on sometime. In fact, you know what? I'm going to share your chat before I even go anywhere really quick. Where's that one chat that you had that was phenomenal? I loved it so much. Randall Smith. I'm going to find it. It was it George Norton? Who was that chat with? Interview. I'm going to find the link and then I'm going to share it on my wall today for everybody. Anytime. I'm going to take you up on that, my friend. I would literally, Randall is a phenomenal medium, you guys. And it was Randall that sat me down and explained all of these things to me because I found his chat, which I am looking for right now on Spirit Release. Before I forget. So, oh, there's your Rob McConnell interview. That's a good one. I'm going to share that one. So I just want you guys to get to know Randall a little bit because I'm totally going to bring you on the podcast sometime, Randall. That would make my whole year to have you come and join me so we could discuss these things. So for those of you, love you too, Randall. I really would love to bring you on though, because people need to know like how many phenomenal mediums are out here doing this work already. And how exciting. I would love that. I'll message you later today. So yeah, for those of you who are interested in joining on Astara, we can hop over in just a second. I did see a really interesting question. Alicia said, what do you think of the Gaia channel? I enjoy it. I do very much enjoy Gaia. Gaia is a good channel, although I am quite concerned about the fact that their largest owners, their largest investors are BlackRock and Vanguard. In fact, I even asked one of the people at Gaia, and they're like, we're publicly traded. We can't deal with anything like that. They said, it's not, we're public business. People can publicly trade, so we can't really help who buys our stocks. I think it's very interesting that Vanguard and BlackRock control more stock in Gaia than any other. Yes, exactly. I know. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They control everything. So, but that does make me wonder, they like to control everything. They have their hands in all of the cookie jars, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, just like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. If it resonates, phenomenal. If it doesn't resonate, cool. Doesn't matter. Whatever you feel is best for you. They have that doll too, Annabelle. See, things like that though. Yeah. What do you think about Bast? I love Bast. I love all the Irma. Yep. Aren't they buying 23andMe? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They want everything that's involving genetics. But like I said, doesn't mean it's bad. Just take it with a grain of salt. And same with Bashar right now, because Bashar has also been saying some really strange things like pro-vax stuff that makes me really question his motives as well. Is the new Astara membership available yet? I believe so. What's a good crystal matrix for raising vibration? Selenite. Selenite's a good one. Herkimer diamond. Moldavite's usually pretty intense, though, for that. I would not get Moldavite unless your vibration is already pretty high, because you will feel a bit nauseous otherwise. Some people feel sick when they hold Moldavite. That is why, because your vibration is still going up there. And yes, we can talk about J seals. We can talk about whatever you want. I'm going to switch over because I've been rambling for 10 minutes extra. So I will see you guys on Astara in like 2 seconds. Okay? Anyway, love you all. I will see you guys tomorrow on the podcast, same time. Mwah! Have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.